In this video, I want to offer a psychological and spiritual approach that can help us heal our political divide, including 3 steps you can take to be a change agent for a positive and more united future. Hi, Mark Gilbert here, and like many of you, I'm concerned about what I'm seeing going on in the world, especially in our political systems. Polarization, tribalism, the breakdown of many of our political norms, a rising sense of anger and nationalism, and demonization of those that are different from ourselves. Many are trying to force their political beliefs on everyone without any attempt to compromise. Now, although I'm typically a positive person, it's hard not to get discouraged and overwhelmed by what's happening and see us heading towards some type of societal breakdown. I know many of us have wondered, why are we experiencing these things, and what is it we can do to contribute to some kind of course correction? Here, what I want you to consider are some psychological and spiritual ways of looking at this concern, and they may be helpful to you in some regards. Take them in and think about them. Let's start first, though, with the spiritual side of things. Now, to be clear, when I use the word spiritual, spirituality is not the same as religion. In my viewpoint, everyone carries some kind of spiritual belief, even if they don't label it that way, even those who call themselves agnostic or atheist. Every person carries around a worldview that helps guide both what they see out in life and the decisions that they make in interacting in our world. A part of that viewpoint includes what we consider to be sacred and what we seek after. Different worldviews lead to different things that we're searching for. And that seeking, whether it's driven by the desire to live by our religious teachings, or the desire for scientific knowledge or to accumulate wealth, or the desire for a direct experience of the divine, that seeking, no matter what it is seeking after, is our spirituality. One definition of spirituality that resonates with me is that spirituality is experiencing our true connection to all that exists, no matter what the method and no matter what brings about that sense of connection. By the way, for more on what it means to be spiritual, see the video listed. Now, in many of my videos, I discuss the various worldviews through which we are evolving, and the 3 primary ones that are in play in our modern culture, the ones that drive us in our so-called culture wars that we're experiencing. But here in this video, I want to simplify our spiritual differences down to one key belief and one key question. Do you believe that everything we experience is separate and apart from one another, or is everything we experience connected? Think about it. You know, at the heart of our spiritual beliefs is an assumption that answers that question one way or the other. Are we all separate, or are we all one? What do you believe? You know, think about that. In everything, including every person, is essentially a separate entity, then that belief means that you see most likely all of us in competition with one another, that we're competing for wealth or power or the use of the Earth's resources. And in that viewpoint, it's an unfortunate byproduct if my particular actions in competing with you cause you harm in my attempts to gain myself more wealth and power. Hence, my political decisions are generally driven by the benefit of myself and those like me, my family, my tribe, my political party, my country. It's a competition with winners and losers are simply a byproduct of my beliefs about the world. On the flip side, if everything and everyone's interconnected and we're all one, then that belief comes with a realization that my harming another is ultimately harming myself. Hence, interactions in a world should be driven by a sense of cooperation rather than competition. My political decisions are infused with a desire that we should continuously seek win-win solutions, one where everyone benefits. So again, what do you believe? Are we separate entities competing for limited resources, or are we interconnected entities cooperating for the benefit of all? You know, another way of asking that question, and it's something that I blogged on a few years ago, was to ask, were we driven by fear or by love? Are our political opinions driven by fear or love? If we're separate and competing, then we see things from a basis of fear. If we know that everything is interconnected in one, we tend to be motivated by love. Now, I got to stress that even though in this moment and in this video, I'm posing this as an either-or question. You believe in separation or you believe in oneness. You're motivated by fear or you're motivated by love. I want to stress that we're more complex and that we move back and forth along a continuum. Some moments in separation and fear on one side and some moments in unity and love on the other. And most of us don't hang out on one side of that spectrum all the time. So please keep that in mind. But where do you tend to hang out? That's the question. So that's the spiritual take for a moment, but I want to shift a little bit and talk about the political issue question from a psychological perspective. Some psychologists suggest that our current world conditions and modern life has found us living in constant low levels of fear. Fear of terrorism, whether it's real or constantly presented to us in the media. Fear of war. Fear that we'll lose our sense of safety and security that comes with having a steady job and decent levels of income. Fear of epidemics. Fear of losing health insurance. And on and on. And that these constant modern fears leave many people with what psychologists call clinically continuous traumatic stress. Its symptoms include, among other things, anxiety, irritability, and eventually creating an other on which to blame everything. And this ongoing stress leads us to these symptoms feeding our political opinions of fear of the other, with social media amplifying those fears. This inner crisis we're experiencing individually is leading to our outer crisis in which the world of the collective political loops back and drives our stress in what feels like some sort of endless loop. So what can we do to stop this vicious cycle? One psychologist I was reading recently suggested these 3 steps. First is to become self-aware, to recognize what we're feeling, and to better manage the stress of modern life that we feel. To consciously choose not to let that stress make us go into a fear and anxiety as we might have in the past. His second step was to see ourselves as having personal power, that we're not victims of the world out there, but we can choose how we're going to react to the news we receive, even if we label it bad. And the third key is to use that personal power to move from feeling disconnected to everyone and everything and into a state of belonging. You know, the stress of modern life and our political issues can seem overwhelming, but you have to stop and ask yourself, what kind of world do you want to live in? Do you want to be in one where the stress and anxiety drive fears of those that are different from us, exacerbating a sense of separation? Or do you want to live in one where we feel that we've got the personal power to choose our own path, to create within us a greater sense of belonging and connectedness? Do you want to live in fear and separation, or do you want to live in connectedness and love? It's a choice that every one of us faces. What are you going to choose? So what do you think? Leave me a comment, like the video, subscribe to the channel, but tune in. Till next time. Thanks.